talk a little bit about what I've been doing at La Trobe. Before I do that, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we meet tonight and pay my respects to their elders past and present. So I've been asked to talk a little about the work that we're doing at La Trobe in creating a unique culture, one that binds together through mindsets and behaviours the 3,300 employees that we have at La Trobe across campuses daily, and something that we actually refer to internally as the way we work. So before I do that, let me start with what we do at La Trobe regularly now and share a culture share with you. And the share relates to La Trobe's cultural qualities of innovative and connected. Now, one of the things I do outside of La Trobe is I work with a private investment company. The private investment company's investment mandate is to look at small businesses, and roughly we tend to buy them and try to grow them at least 10 or 20 times. And one of the constraints on the firm's ability to do that, of course, is if you think about your investable universe, it's around about 800,000 companies that we could invest in. The firm's working with a research centre that sits in the La Trobe Business School, which is the Centre for Data Analytics and Cognition. And the work that we're doing is to take the investment approach of the firm and reflect it in an algorithm that goes out into that investable universe and looks at targets. The really exciting thing of the work that's being done is it's a self-learning algorithm. So over time, it's probably going to end up being maybe more able than our investment team. The really exciting thing for me is this potentially will transform the way that the firm does investment, and probably more globally has the potential to transform private equity. The single point lesson from all of this for me is, in terms of the culture share, is that innovation often involves seeking out and connecting with unlikely partners. And I guess if you said the most fund managers that the place you go in order to innovate and change a business model is a business school, most investment managers would say, well, that's not obvious. And it's at the heart of innovation and what we call connecting. So let me introduce a little more formally our culture and introduce the 4 cultural qualities that describe that culture. First one of those is connected, and that's all about La Trobe connecting with its outside community. As John said, throwing the doors open, getting people to cross the moat and interact with us daily. And my example in terms of my culture share is exactly that. Business school interacting with the Australian investment community. Innovative is all about La Trobe's mission in tackling the big issues of our time to transform the lives of those in society. Once again, if you went back to my culture share, essentially if this transforms investment, at the back end of the investment typically are pensions, and if we do that better and better as an investment community, then we can solve some of the issues of funding Australia's ageing population. Accountable is all about striving for excellence in everything that we do, having a mindset to hold ourselves to account and working at the highest standard. Actually, at La Trobe, it's a little more than that. Typically, it's about getting our people the position to work within a framework, and actually, my experience is celebrating success when they deliver extraordinary things, which is something I see at La Trobe every day. And finally, care is about believing in the power of education and the power of research to transform society. I guess for those alumni that are there, it's fundamentally all about our DNA as a first-in-family university, and also as a university that has authentic relationships with minorities and underprivileged communities, and the fact that we authentically engage with Australia's first people, and you hear that in terms of recognising where we are and the land we sit on. The fact that we do that so authentically is a really good example of care and the authenticity of the Trobe. So I guess the question that we often get asked is, why does culture matter for a university? And why is La Trobe really the only university in Australia that is taking a whole of university approach to developing a unique culture? Well, some would argue it's all about risk management. And certainly when we think about the narrative that's came out of the Banking Royal Commission, obviously if you get culture wrong, you can actually severely impact on your social licence to operate and the scope of your business. And if you think about the banks post-Royal Commission, today they rank among the least trusted businesses in Australia. And the fact that they've had to exit some of their wealth management businesses is a good example of what occurs when socially it impacts on your right to operate as a business. And whilst I see that's correct, and there's no doubt that setting tone is a key element of risk management, at La Trobe we believe that culture is something far bigger and far more important. And what we believe at La Trobe is actually culture is the difference between average execution and outstanding execution. It is the true differentiator between an average entity of any type, business, university, SME, small business, or not-for-profit, and an outstanding entity. And for me, if strategy defines the what, then culture defines the how, and we absolutely believe that at La Trobe. And of course, superior execution in terms of the how is at the heart of competitive advantage. And after 30 years in business, I'm absolutely convinced that it's immutable, that culture is the only enduring competitive advantage in any enterprise, and that's simply because it can't be copied. So for La Trobe, it's not only about competitive advantage, about excellent execution, it's about the competitive advantage that we're building to outperform any university, whether it be in Australia or globally. For La Trobe, we've got kind of a unique elements of our business that I don't find in business very often, and that really relates to the complexity of what we're doing. I often say to John that if you think about the disciplines that we're dealing with, it's the entirety of human knowledge. From archaeology to the classics in history, to social science, to engineering and maths, all of the sciences. And I was at a session this week where I was told there were 4 different sciences within chemistry. I don't know whether that was a pitch for a new school, John, but anyway. Public health, nursing, midwifery and sport. And we actually found on the way in the car, we also have a centre that even looks at native fish ecology. And I'm sure I've mixed some of our disciplines, but if you think about the business, you don't find that complexity in business that you find in a university. We've got 1,500 academics, many of them with very discrete interests in a sliver of knowledge. We teach through 60 departments across 11 schools. We've got 35,000 students from over 30 countries, and I'll stand corrected because I'm sure it's more than that. And we operate in one of the most competitive education markets in the world. And if you look at our campuses, we've got 7 physical campuses, but increasingly scores of virtual campuses. So the question really that we grappled with at La Trobe is, how do you join all that together? And how do you achieve one La Trobe across an enterprise that's complex? And the answer is strategy. And it's also the unique set of mindsets and behaviours that describe our culture. So we're using this really as something to build competitive advantage and bring the enterprise together. So what's my role and what have I been doing? obviously, culture change and a culture program is driven by the executive team. So, John and the senior executive group are out leading on the cultural journey. My role is to assist John and the executive team by leveraging the approach to culture change that I led during my 9 years as CEO of Incitec Pivot. And once again, in terms of our cultural quality of connected, using an approach that came out of business and applying that in a university is exactly what we mean by that cultural quality. The reason why it's so relevant is at Incitec we had similar challenges to Trobe. It was a big business, as John said, with an enterprise value of around 8 billion, 5,000 employees globally, 13 countries, 21 major chemical facilities, 200 major sites, and 3 major businesses in the explosives, fertilisers and industrial chemicals. And as CEO, what I learned, if you get this stuff right, then you can have 5,000 employees come to work every day asking 2 questions. Firstly, how do I have a safe day? And secondly, how can I improve the business? And through those mindsets and behaviours on those 2 questions, we at Incitec delivered around about $500 million in productivity improvements over 5 years. So once again, that's why I say it's an immutable. So what's our approach at Trobe? First, it starts from leadership. Leadership sets the tone. So that's all about John and the senior executive group modelling our cultural qualities every day. And then secondly, we've combined that top-down with some bottom-up. So I'm very fortunate to work with 21 of the most capable people I've ever met. They come from our high potential cohort, and we call those people cultural influencers. And they're the people in the business that are seeing how we work every day and coaching and describing what we do every day through the lens of our cultural qualities. An amazing group of people who I learn from every day. Interestingly, also an advisor to John and the senior executive group through a regular lunch and learn. So we've got this really nice top-down, bottom-up, and once again, that comes from the corporate world. Third, we ensure that culture is top of mind by talking about it, and that's what the culture shares are all about. And at Trobe, most meetings, at the start of the meeting, there'll be a culture share. And importantly, if you can't talk about your culture, then it's non-existent. And culture isn't something that you do. Culture is something that you use to run the business. And so we're really helping everyone within Trobe think about what they're doing through those lenses of the cultural qualities. And one of the highlights of my year at Trobe is hearing about those culture shares. And it's certainly something that John and the senior executive group celebrate. Fourth, we've developed a unique language to bring our cultural qualities to life. So for accountable, we continue to ask the question, what's my 50%? For innovative, we look to solve problems at the right level in the organisation. For care, we've got a mantra that improvement should be done by you, not to you. And for connected, we have at the top of our mindset that students are at the centre of everything that we do in the university. And in terms of the way we think about leadership, we combine those cultural qualities with 2 key principles of leadership, and they are to do only what only you can do. And secondly, a mantra of the role of leadership is to work on, not in the business. And of course, the most powerful way you can do that is through our cultural qualities. And finally, we've embedded cultural qualities into our performance management system. And now at Trobe, you'll be assessed on not only what you've achieved, but how, and have to demonstrate that you've been able to live for cultural qualities. And a key criteria for promotion is to be able to lead through the cultural qualities. So it's quite an integrated program. I'm really excited. I've been assisting John and the team for the last 14 months. And I see substantial progress. So increasingly, when I go across campus, we're getting the same description of our cultural qualities. I hear, as I say, really inspiring culture shares, and we're able increasingly to talk about them through the same lens. So they're starting to be that glue that's joining the enterprise together. Word spread into the student population, and now we have an unbelievably exciting challenge, and that's how to involve students. Because we were talking about the current cohort of students, they are really driven by a set of cultural qualities, or what more generally are called values. So a values-driven organisation is one that you want to be involved with. Increasingly, we're attracting talent from outside the university. When academics hear about the things that we're doing that no other universities are doing. And as you come back to La Trobe's campuses, I'd really encourage you to seek out and learn a little bit about our cultural qualities. As I say, I think it's one of the most exciting things we're doing, and ultimately it will be the true differentiator of La Trobe going forward. However, like these things, you don't develop a distinctive culture overnight, and we're still at early days. And I guess the challenge for us now is just to stay the course. So I'll leave culture there. I just wanted to spend a final few minutes talking about my experience at La Trobe. John mentioned I'm Vice Chancellor's Fellow. I spend 2 to 3 days at La Trobe a week. It's such an inspiring place. I often find myself creeping into 4 days. As John said, what I work on is strategy and culture. In terms of strategy, I've been privileged actually to work on strategy for 9 out of the 11 schools, and also strategy with some of our research centres. We've got a group of researchers focusing on preventing cancer, another group who are looking at living with disability. I work a lot in the business school, working with a group that's looking at the social impact of sport, and in particular the gender balance of sport. And also work with another research centre that's focused on reducing the harm of alcohol in the community. That's just a small smattering. We could talk for probably an hour if we wanted to cover all the research that's done at La Trobe. And I guess if you want to get involved, it's a fantastic way to get involved, because you're dealing with researchers who truly are changing society. And I regularly correct people when they talk about academics. La Trobe academics are some of the most inspiring people I've met, and certainly is a reason why I come to La Trobe every day. John also mentioned that I've had the privilege with my wife Helen to sponsor a scholarship. What I love about the scholarship is it brings people to university that was equivalent to Helen and myself. So we're both first in family. We come from backgrounds that, I guess we're at the lower socio-economic level. And La Trobe gave us a wonderful gift, which was education. We've both had extremely good careers that has allowed us to be in a privileged position. And actually sitting with some of the scholarship winners and hearing that that's the reason they're at university, and having met them, I've got no doubt within business, they will end up transforming business, is probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. So if you want to get involved with La Trobe through research or through our wonderful students, it's just a great way to reconnect. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your attention.
James, stay there just a moment. We have a present here. And James, did you just want to mention what Helen does now?
Yeah, so my wife Helen is a senior partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers. She sits on the executive board, and she's responsible for talent and partnership. And if you think about PwC, that's all the business is. It's people. So once again, we both met at La Trobe. So the great gift we got was an education that allows us to do both of those.
Can I ask you James? We have a present for him which is highly sought after. You are a recipient that makes you part of a very, very small, privileged, distinguished group. It's the Trobe hoodie. So James, with our warmest thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, group photograph. Where would you like everyone?
Just over in front of this wall, I think would be appropriate. It will take a couple of minutes, guys, please. So tall people down the back.
That's
Short
better than
people
a Harvard
myself,
University hood, isn't it?